The most dangerous thing Ruth ever did wasn't exposing the corruption. It was pretending she had stopped looking. Because the man she hunted could end her with one phone call. And he had just learned her name. 2 days earlier. Ruth had won. She exposed Mark in front of the entire board. His crimes, on the screen. It was over. She had won. And then, everything changed. John, the chairman she trusted, stood up. With 3 quiet words, he suspended the investigation. The truth Ruth bled for all night simply stopped mattering. The room emptied. No one would meet her eyes. Days ago, John had warned her. Be careful who you trust. Now she understood. He hadn't been protecting her. He had been describing himself. Mark was never the architect of any of it. Mark was the hammer. John was the hand that swung him. For years the chairman stayed clean, while Mark took every risk. Ruth had cut off the hand's weapon. But the hand still ruled. And now that hand knew she was dangerous. Ruth had one night before he moved against her. That night, she didn't go home. She went where it all began. She had the raw vendor logs. And buried in them, a secret. 8 seconds before the portal closed, John's credential opened an account. A payroll account he believed no one would ever find. But the money wasn't the worst part. She called Jane. Pull the full history, she said. Everything. Jane didn't find 4 payments. She found 4 people. 4 careers destroyed. 4 lives spent pretending everything was fine. The first. An accountant named Daniel. He found a discrepancy in the books. He asked one question too many. Then a secret of his own surfaced. And he resigned, overnight. He never spoke of it again. He just vanished. The second. A manager named Priya. She challenged John in a meeting. Once. In front of everyone. After that, she stopped speaking. Then she stopped coming. Until no one remembered she had ever had a voice. The third had a sick child, and a debt he couldn't pay. John paid the debt. And owned him, forever. The fourth simply disappeared. No one even knew her name anymore. Each one handed a secret. And a payment, to bury it. John didn't silence them with fear alone. He silenced them, with shame. 4 people who could destroy John. If they ever felt safe enough, to speak. But none of them ever would. Not while he still held power. To free the witnesses. Ruth first had to break the chair. The next morning. John called Ruth into his office. He was warm. Fatherly. He praised her courage. Called the suspension a formality. Said it would be handled, in time. And Ruth felt a cold drop in her stomach. He wasn't reassuring her. He was measuring what she knew. And deciding what to do about her. So Ruth did the most dangerous thing of all. She lied to his face. She thanked him. Said she'd pushed too hard. Said she only wanted to clear her own name. She watched the suspicion leave his eyes. She watched him decide she was harmless. And she hated how good she'd become at pretending. But John was never fooled for long. That afternoon, Ruth's badge stopped working. A quiet warning. He was watching her now. Her emails were being read. Her calls logged. Then John went after the one person who could still help her. Jane. He flagged her for a security review. If they found what Jane had done, she'd lose everything. Ruth had pulled Jane into this. Now Jane was in danger. They had hours, not days, before the review found the truth. One wrong move now, and they'd both vanish like the other 4. Ruth had to move first. And move fast. To bring John down, she needed someone above him. There was exactly one person he had never controlled. Claire. The founder's daughter. The largest shareholder. 20 years ago, she watched John worm his way to her father. She watched him take credit, take control, take everything. When her father died, John buried her out of power. She had waited 20 years, for a reason to strike. Ruth gave her that reason. She laid it all out. The logs. The 4 ruined lives. The decade of shame and silence. Claire listened, without a single word. When Ruth finished, she asked only one question. Why didn't you come to me first? Ruth answered. Yesterday. I didn't know who you were. Today. I do. Claire made no promises. She lifted the phone. And called for an independent audit. One John could not suspend. Because she owned more of the company than he ever would. For the first time in years, the chairman lost control of the board. John fought back. He called in favors. Pressured the committee. He had survived a dozen storms before. He expected to survive this. But Claire had the one thing he couldn't buy. Independence. The audit landed on John's desk, like a verdict. And for one short moment, Ruth saw something new. The warmth drained from his face. The man who made everyone afraid, finally looked frightened. Mark was suspended that Friday. The hammer, set down at last. Jane's review was quietly dropped. She was safe. For now. Ruth had won a battle. But not the war. Because an audit can find money. It cannot find intent. It could prove John paid Mark a fortune. But not what he paid him to do. John still had an answer for every line. A charity. A loan. A consultancy. The truth was on the table. It was not yet enough. To prove intent, Ruth needed a witness. Someone who knew everything. And there was only one man who did. The man Ruth hated most in the world. Mark. Who stole her project. Who tried to destroy her. Was the only person alive who could save her. Mark hated John for using him. Hated Ruth for beating him. He could destroy the chairman. Or destroy Ruth. His choice. To end the man who used them both. Ruth had a choice too. Walk into the office of her own enemy. Look him in the eye. And ask him for help. In the finale, the hammer turns on the hand that swung it. And only one of them walks away clean. The enemy of my enemy. Subscribe for the